26-year-old Antti Niemi, new to the playoffs this spring as well. 22nd start, 15 wins, the most of anyone this spring.
Well, I believe it really starts on the back end, Doc. Both of these teams have defense that like to get involved. That first good pass and coming in that second and third wave. Look for the defense to be the key on either side in this game 6.
Best line for the Flyers up front starts. Best defensive pair starts. Pronger, Carl, Hartnell, Leno, and Briere. Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook start for Chicago. Best defensive pair. Jonathan Toews, Marian Hossa, Thomas Kopecky up front. It is Hossa taking. Looking for that elusive first championship. And the first goal, which he said in our pregame was so important. Thrown in front, oh, and directed right on goal. And another follow-up now comes from Hossa to the corner.
Never off the skate of Danny Briere standing right in front of Michael Leighton. What a stop.
Taves a shot, and that deflected up into the mesh. 39 interesting seconds. Inside the glass, here's Pierre.
Pretty good start so far for the Chicago Blackhawks, and one of the things Philadelphia has to do, and Eddie was just talking about it, when you talk about getting things involved, it starts in the back end. The composure of Duncan Keith during that last sequence was huge. That settles everybody else down on the Chicago bench.
That's a chant that's 43 years old. The sing-song Let's Go Flyers. This is brought ahead by Simon Gagne, and his shot was just pinned right down by Brian Campbell, and Campbell starts it ahead. Lifted on now for the ex-Flyer Patrick Sharp, who rolled it back in, and then stumbling out of his goal, but recovering with plenty of time is Leighton. Lifted across by Carter. Taken on by Timonen. Given too far up the wing. Punched along by Hjalmarsson of Chicago. And it can be played by Chris Versteeg. Lobbed one that's gloved down by Gagne. Taken to the boards with effectiveness by Dustin Byfuglien, and the puncher came right back ahead.
Little different look here for the Flyers on their top line with Mike Richards, Simon Gagne, and Jeff Carter. Looks like Carter's patrolling the middle of the ice, the center ice position. It's usually been Richards when these three have been together.
Aaron Asham slipped one through, and it careened off of Seabrook on goal, where Niemi made the stop. Back up the half boards, it's flipped on a cross and nicely kept alive by Carl, and shot deflected, and it hopped off of Giroux. Played along again by Versteeg. Bounced on back to Carl. That one went off the stick of Kane. Pressed was Hjalmarsson. Boland is in there and sandwiched. Punched along to Giroux. Giroux swept it in front, but it's picked up now by Kane. Kane lobbed it ahead, hoping for big Andrew Ladd. That didn't pan out. Right back ahead with it is Van Riemsdyk. Van Riemsdyk, watched there by Brent Sokol, just swirls to the outside and then sent one that's canceled out quickly by Nick Boynton and cleared back down.
Oh, what a terrific shift there from Matt Carley. Kept 2 plays alive at the blue line to give the Flyers some sustained pressure, and then he just made a smart little play off the boards to allow Van Riemsdyk on that last rush.
A chance now for Blair Batts, and the shot was kicked to the corner by Boynton. 2 alert plays on defense by Nick Boynton. A long-term injury that returned in this series for Chicago. Van Eager stepped into Ian LaPerriere. Carried back on by Bartulis, flicked back further and down the ice. And there will be no icing coming on that toss back down by Troy Brower. About 10,000 of the linesmen here had a problem with that. Carried back ahead and slipped back in again by Billy Leno. Leno, the most impressive rookie since Jeremy Roenick. And before that, Dino Ciccarelli, a long time ago. Cleared back down again, and going for this is Seabrook. And this time, there is an icing call.
Now, one of the things we talked about before the game, Ben, was the fact they had to be physical on the Philadelphia side, be aggressive on the forecheck. And you see Claude Giroux, James Van Riemsdyk, some of their younger players winning board battles, trying to create some offense off the cycle. And it's a great read by Patrick Kane, coming back and helping out defensively.
Keith, a shot that is grabbed and held by Leighton. The Flyers have out-hit Chicago in each of the 5 games.
I think Mike Richards just out here for this face-off, and then he'll leave the ice service, and Leno will come back out.
It is sent wide. Jonathan Toews against Mike Richards has won 26 of 36 so far in the series. So that's a great matchup for Chicago so far. Here is Toews swirling to the corner, looking for some help, and he got it from Marian Hossa, but the pass was cut and lobbed back along, kept alive across to Seabrook, and a drive, and a save by Leighton as Taves was standing all alone in front of him. Sent along by Hossa and gotten by Taves again. Taves sent one across. Seabrook there, bad angle shot fought off by Leighton. Slipped on back to the point. Here's Keith with a drive. Save Leighton. Bouncing around in front and hoisted over to the half boards. Seabrook with it there. Seabrook sent it back across again. Another shot. That one blocked wide. One loose stick on the ice. It's Hartnell's. Played back in front and Pronger tries to clear and he cannot. Seabrook looking for help from Taves. They kept it alive until now. And the Flyers can settle things down.
And the play all started. Those opportunities for the Blackhawks because Duncan Keith with a great keep in at the blue line on a rolling puck.
It is Giroux sending it behind off the stick of Keith. Buckland to get it there. Right back to Keith, though. Forced it behind off Seabrook's stick. Pinching along is Timonen. Attempt by Versteeg missed him. And it's played along for Van Riemsdyk. Van Riemsdyk up the boards, lost it. Sent to center, and Timonen just blew it right back in again. A shift change is coming up for Chicago. It is Ladd out there. And this man, Patrick Kane. Kane able to motor ahead, slams on the brakes, looks over his options. It went off of Patrick Sharp, steered back out for Timonen. Defenseman able to move up and bounce one that is bunted aside by Niemi and forced back up the boards for Kane. Kareem back off him, but he was able to use his speed, poked it along further. Gagne dropped it behind, Sopel hunted down and shoved off by Carter. 5 1/4 played in the first period. The shots are 5-1 in favor of the Blackhawks. Laid back ahead off Carter's stick. Poynton got that one, banked it right to Gagne. Threw one in front, and it is cut off there. Shaken back off the boards and on out now to Versteeg. That work was done. Across now by the Flyers, and Gagne with a shot that is saved by Niemi. Kept alive and rolled around behind from Pronger. Trouble for Carter. Clutched carefully, and then Shillelagh back out again by Buckland. Pretty good reflex move by him, as this one is skittered right back down on Niemi. No icing here, and another change in lines for the Flyers. Virtually non-stop play, 6 minutes played here. First period, game 6. Chip back along. After it now comes Taves. Here's Taves with a shot that was steered wide by the Flyer defender. Carried right back ahead by Hartnell. Moves back on with Friere. Gave it across to Braden Coburn. Coburn couldn't get a good try away, and then Hartnell went smearing in on the defenseman Duncan Keith. Right back in and a 3-on-2 the Blackhawks, but it's knifed back out again by Billy Leno. Right back the other way. A terrific pace in this. It is Keith around behind. 6.5 played now. A couple of Flyers came to him, so he sent it by Taves to center. Leno tried to work further and goes right after this one. Met there by Keith, and Keith able to win that battle of the long stick.
Edzo and Doc, this is the best pace we've witnessed in the Stanley Cup final so far. Unbelievable pace.
Van Eager rollicked in, fed back by Madden, well by Hjalmarsson, and a shot pad stop late, and he paddles it away to the corner. Lifted along by Krejcek. Brouwer got it further for Madden. Madden worked over by Krejcek again. It's bumped along by Asham and outletted, but stiffly off of Van Riemsdyk. Retrieved now by the Chicago Blackhawks as the fans are booing a collision at center ice.
That was Van Eager and Claude Giroux right in front of the Flyer bench.
Dropped on down, and Ladd gets this one. Ladd tried to back pass it in front, and it's cut off by Van Riemsdyk. Steered back ahead for a toss on down by Asham. After this is Giroux, knifed away neatly from him by Bolin, and the Blackhawks can shift it back out again. Duncan Keith's pass is directed high, and an offside is called. 17 times he went back and forth with 9 pro teams between the NHL and the American League. Had not played in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but has really played this year. Ryan Campbell. 12 minutes to go, first period. What do you think of the play so far?
No hesitation at all on either side. I think it's come from the back end. You think about Chicago's 6 shots, 5 of them have come from the back end defensemen. Both teams playing with that fever pitch, as Pierre mentioned right before that commercial break.
Lifted back in by Billy Leno. That one bounced down, and it's Seabrook. Touched into traffic off Leno. Controlled ahead by Hossa. Led across to Keith. Moves in and drops it off to Hossa for the shot. shrugged away with a little jump move there by Leighton. Taken by Taves. Wants to work it behind, got it to Kopecky, a little back pass and a penalty coming up. It's going to be against the Flyers.
Doc and Edzo Pronger's getting it. He was in a one-on-one down low, and he just hooked on with the free hand. That's a whole lot of penalty right there. I don't know how he argues that one, Edzo.
Well, you're keyed up, you know. You think you've been done wrong, and that what you did, you got away with. Third minor of the series here in this series for Chris Pronger. Bud Light, here we go on the power play. That has been better lately for Chicago. 3 for the last 7 over 2 games after going empty in the first 3 in 6 tries. One of those is the only 5-on-3 power play of the series. Kane defended well by Tiemann. Slipped it on through Braden Coburn. Popped there by Buckland, and it's lifted on out to center the first 30 seconds uneventful.
Boy, Brett's had a chance to shoot that puck all the way down, but he fanned on it. Philadelphia's not able to make wholesale changes while shorthanded.
This is Kane. Settles it down away from Blair. Betts on back to Keith and a drive. Ricocheted off the pipe and is cleared back down.
Edzo and Doc, Leighton never saw that thing. All he did was hear the noise of the pinging of the post.
I wonder how much goalies believe in omens.
Patrick Roy loved him. He used to kiss the post all the time, saying thank you.
This is played on by Versteeg. Rushing back in is Hossa. Taken by the Flyers, though. Hossa trying to cancel a man out. It swept back up the boards. Good keep, though, by Seabrook. Floated it back to the corner. Careened away from Versteeg. Half boards lifted by Giroux and flagged down at center and played on further by Troy Brouwer. Rushing right back in with it now is Campbell, able to step by one. Campbell holds, fed it across, and it was through the legs of Brouwer and cleared by Betts. To the last 20 of the first power play. One scoring chance, no shots. One loud pipe, doesn't count. There's a shot on goal, but here is Kane up with that. Sweeps it back, Brent Sokol there. Drives one, jammed at it. Backhand play at the side of the net that didn't work from Taves. Kept alive by Hjalmarsson and swept back down by Coburn. Out of the box is Pronger. Flyers penalty killers are 1 for 1. So now Leighton leads for Carl. Took a crazy bounce and came right to Kane. Kane dropped it back. Keith with a drive. Grabbed and held by Leighton. Mike Richards and Jonathan Taves, the captain of the Blackhawks, both in that gold medal game, both for Canada. Turnaround shot right off of that faceoff is stopped by Leighton, and the shots become 10-2 in favor of Chicago.
Good idea there by Ben Eager, just to fire the puck at the net. Saw what happened real early in this first period when Thomas Kopecky just fired the puck towards the front of the net, off the skate of Danny Briere, and a real good left pad save by Michael Leighton.
This is Coburn in deep. Coburn backhanded one in front that was chopped at by Carter, but can be brought back out again by Buckland. Blackhawks in a hurry here. Versteeg gave it on a cross. Drive save made by Leighton on the shot by David Bolin, who's got it again. Bolin tried to feed the point, could not. Carried right back ahead, and with it is Simon Gagne. He's got Richards, but hands it over to Campbell. Long toss was just away from Versteeg and down. No icing on this play. Versteeg trying to play it along, looked for a little help, but couldn't get it. And so it's Carl holding. A dozen minutes have been played in the first period of Game 6, and the shots are 11-2 in favor of the Blackhawks, who want to clinch tonight. Worked through traffic neatly there by Hossa, and then eventually lost and just shouted back down on the backhand of Hartnell. Chased down now by Keith, pursued by Leno. The two of them go to the boards, still up for grabs, and then Keith is sent flying by a hit from Hartnell. Thumping sort of game so far. Jonathan Taves roughed up by Hartnell, who has forearm smashed there and sent down a little bit by Seabrook. And they continue the battle. It came out in front, and Leno couldn't get a shot away. Played back out again by Hossa.
Edzo all off, good aggressive forecheck by Philadelphia, but what a job by Duncan Keith to take a hit to make a play.
The forecheck is what got the Flyers here. Goaltending too, team play, defense, all of that, but the forecheck is how so much of their game begins as Leno is really corked there by Seabrook. This one will be chased down by Giroux.
What a hit.
Not just one team that can do it. Off, it's Van Riemsdyk having it flicked away at the last moment, and a good reaction by Seabrook, and a wraparound is held by Niemi. Oh, this is good.
Well, Jonathan Toews battling in his own zone, and Scotty Hartnell had a good finish a little bit earlier on Duncan Keith. His shift isn't done. And Brent Seabrook trying to take a piece, and you made mention of that last big hit. Brent Seabrook on Ville Leino, helmet popping off.
It's big body hockey. That's a great play by Brent Seabrook. Red zone dock, it seems like Brent Seabrook and Duncan Keith are on virtually all the time.
Especially when, especially when the Briere Hartnell Leino line is on, and that matchup has changed as this series has gone on. At the start, it was Gagne, Carter, and Richards that they were matched up against.
Chipped along now. Boynton moves in, able to outreach and play it along behind for Patrick Sharp.
Now you got Carter instead of Asham on the line with Giroux and Van Riemsdyk.
Through all of this, the home team gets the last change, and there'll be a penalty against the visitors. First power play of the game for the Flyers. Bud Light, here we go with the power play for Philadelphia. Over recent games, it is only 1 for 9, and the last 2 came up empty for the first time in Game 5 in Chicago. Put ahead by Pronger, connected on to Richards. Richards had it poked away by Seabrook. Richards could not center, but it came across conveniently for the Flyers to keep play alive with Pronger walking it on and handing to Timonen and getting it back. They play a little catch. Timonen's trying to set up Pronger for the one-timer. Didn't happen that time. Sped back over for a shot by Richards that's wide. Rebound is poked along and then gotten by Leino. Filtered it on through. Richards up with it there, handed back to Pronger. Back on to Richards again. Fed one across. It's bunted back by Timonen. Drive by Pronger. Ricocheted off of Richards. And Duncan Keith gets it on to John Madden, who clears. A hurried change by Chicago defensively. Played back onto Timonen again. Around behind it comes near Keith, but is bunted right into him. He recovered, skipped it on back, but not out. Kept there and fed across to Timonen. Timonen a shot. Oh, and he had Gagne at the front of the net. Tried to set up the combination, and it didn't work. Goes back across in the last 48 seconds of what's been an impressive power play, at least in generating something, but just not in. Here is Hartnell with it. Lost it to Hossa. Played it on back to Campbell. And Campbell put it off Hossa's stick and back down. No shots yet on this power play with Pitchfork back in. Trying to bunt it loose. Niemi ripped along by Hjalmarsson. Kept alive further. Nice finesse move by Versteeg. Played up to Sharp and he got it back down. Flyer-trained forward, Patrick Sharp, playing for Chicago. Braden Coburn, former Chicago Wolf, brings this one ahead and hands it on a cross. Carter stoked it back. Richards there. Drive deflected across by Madden. Penalty time is up to Sopel. Along to get this now is Seabrook. Laid it off of Sopel's stick, and it came back where John Madden is after it with Coburn, and it's hoisted free, but played by the Flyers defensively. Off of Coburn, though, and having to drop back to save things is Van Riemsdyk. 4:10 left. 11 shots to 3 Chicago. Full strength action. Back ahead Hossa, and a shot had to be turned aside by Leighton again. Taves connects back along, hoping for Kane, but it came on back now for a shot by Boynton that ricocheted off Leighton. Some concern you sense in the crowd here in Philadelphia right now as the chances are coming for the Blackhawks. Here comes another with Kane. Kane crossing, shooting, save made by Leighton. Rebound, hooked back into Kane again. More pressure from Chicago. Fed back across, penalty coming up on the Flyers. Dealt back in on the delayed call to Chris Versteeg. He's got Taves at the front. Versteeg working to the outside, shoved there, and now finally it is touched.
They want Pronger out against Taves as much as possible. Second time in a bunch for Pronger.
14 shots to 3 in favor of Chicago. More battling on the boards. 5 players now, 6 have converged. Up it comes for Duncan Keith. Michigan State product gave it over to Kane. Dealt one in deep. The pass across. They score! Bufflin! Power play goal. It's 1-0 Chicago.
Enzo, he had a power play goal in game number 5, and he's just taken off from there. Dustin Byfuglien's been a huge presence for the Blackhawks.
Odd man situation. Patrick Kane comes over and helps out. Look at, there's 3 Flyers in there against 2 Blackhawks. Who has the power play? But with Kane coming in there, look at the effort by Taves. He gets the puck back to Duncan Keith. Kane, who comes over to help. A little bit of a jam play, and then Byfuglien pops out and puts the puck past Michael Leighton.
No stick for Blair Betts, so that makes it even more difficult for Philadelphia, but great precision by Chicago. Outstanding power play work.
Dustin Byfuglien, goal 11, power play goal 5, and a penalty is coming up here. Seabrook heads to the box for Chicago. You see Chris Pronger's reaction when the power play goal was scored on that minor. 3 minutes to go. The 16th shot of the period for Chicago becomes Dustin Byfuglien's power play goal. 3 shots so far for the Flyers. Pitched off the glove of Sopel, flicked back on, but grabbed off the Bolin toss by Timonen. Sopel, little back pass in front, and Bolin had to help it aside. And Hjalmarsson drills it back down and into the chest of the netminder Leighton. Swirling by are both Briere and Carter. Richards is out there. Pronger now coming to the bench. Timonen is the other Flyer. Flipped back along now by Hjalmarsson. Kept alive by Coburn, who has just come in Pronger's place. Gotten by Briere. Briere gave it around behind. Richards up with it there. Richards a head fake, handed on back. Coburn with it. Then Richards slammed one that's blocked down by Hjalmarsson, and they go jabbing away with their stick. But the whistle is blown.
Hjalmarsson didn't have a stick, so he made himself big. A human Zamboni on the ice in front of Anthony M, and he throws that centering pass.
Well, the Flyers looking for a play with Hjalmarsson without a stick, and Mike Richards tried to throw this puck past Nicholas Hjalmarsson, and all he could do was take away that passing lane. And the Flyers trying to get that loose puck, hacking and whacking, trying to free the puck under Hjalmarsson. But a smart play there, an outstanding play by the young Blackhawk defenseman.
Many great surgical schools are located in the Philadelphia area, and there were a couple of candidates working there as this comes onto the back now for the hold, and they give across to Matt Carl. Carl took some lumber there from Bolin, then from Sopel. Fed on back, and trouble there for Richards, gave it up to Madden, and he clears it back down. 3/4 of a minute to go on this power play. 1:45 to go first period. The shots are 17-3 Chicago. Carried back ahead now and dropped on back to Ville Leino. Leino crosses, and his shot went off of Niemi and wide. On back now to Carl. Hands it across again. A shot by Coburn, knocked down by Sopel. Flip back off Coburn's stick. Coburn able to send it back on, around behind, and unable to reach that one was Leino on a good defensive play by the reach of Sopel, but it's cleared back up now for the control of Carl. Here's Carl dealing it off. Carter with it there, and the shot snuffed out by Jonathan Taves. Dealt on back for another play to Carter. Carter headed across, Coburn a shot, and that one booted back out again by Taves. He comes to the bench for a change, and penalty time is up to Seabrook. Final minute of play in the period. Not a shot on the Flyers power play. Roaring back up ice with it is Patrick Sharp. And we have a whistle, and what have we? A penalty?
Yeah, I think it's interference on Brent Sopel.
You think correctly. Stephen Walken caught him behind the play.
Number 5 for Chicago, minor penalty, interference.
Elimination game, you'd understand that, wouldn't you? Here is Giroux taking this and dumping it along, and now it's Timonen controlling for the Flyers. Gives on back to Giroux. Walks on in. Giroux peels off, though. 40 seconds to go in the period. Then Timonen. Then Pronger. A drive. Save made by Niemi. Rebound is taken on by Briere. Andy Briere, leading scorer for this Philadelphia team, gave it on back to Pronger, then across to Briere. Shooting! Save Niemi. Rebound. Score! Hartnell yet again, another power play goal.
This is what they call big body hockey. It's not much of a slash, but Hartnell goes down. Duncan Keith can't go back at him. And then the big rebound for Hartnell to make it 1-1.
It is Kane leading it ahead. Buckland trying to finesse his way in, cannot do it. Hooked back now by Betts in the last 10. And considering how the first minutes went, the Flyers and their fans will take this. A first period in a tie game, outdone 17 to now 7. Back here at Wachovia Center in South Philadelphia, no carryover penalties nor power plays. It is 1-1.
Going to go back to the first goal of the game for the Blackhawks. Watch the effort here by Jonathan Toews. He's in the middle of the pile. He gets knocked out from behind by Braden Coburn. On his knees, he gets the puck back to the point. His job isn't done. He gets off to the left of Michael Leighton. It goes from Keith to Kane to Toews. The shot and the rebound, and Dustin Byfuglien puts it in the back of the net. But the effort amongst 3 Flyers started that goal for Chicago.
It's on Doc. Last year, Sidney Crosby was the youngest captain to ever win the Stanley Cup. Jonathan Toews, if he does it this year, it'll be an unbelievable story. And what a year for Jonathan Toews. He really is the picture of the Chicago Blackhawks. He's an amazing leader, and he can do so many great things for so long for this franchise.
So long-time Blackhawk Dennis Savard with the same number of points in a playoff year back in his big heyday, as here is Duncan Keith, and 3 players actually overskated that, preoccupied with themselves perhaps. Here is Keith trying to get further, cannot, and a steal, and moving in is Gagne! Save made by Niemi, thrown away to the half boards, and it's Toews. What a huge save on a great opportunity with one of the Flyers' most dangerous shooters. Opetsky wrestled off. His helmet pops off. Flyers able to turn with it there, and it's handed on across, and Pronger lugs it on. Chris Pronger there dropping it back. Shunted high by Gagne, dug out by the Blackhawks, and spirited back out and all the way down. And it will be allowed to go by Timonen. Icing long ago is waved off. Early buzz.
In this second period, the long change for both teams, and especially with the skill level of both teams' defensemen, you got to make sure you change before you're tired.
Oh, Briere with a try that was wide. Coburn across to Timonen, dealt it back in, flexed along by Hjalmarsson. Hartnell couldn't work it to the slot area, laid along behind by Briere. On the cycle, it's Leno to Hartnell to Briere. Drive, and that got the glass. It is Leno with it again. Dropped it around behind, and Briere canceled out there. Puck played in close quarters by Bolin. Second effort on the backhand, and Versteeg was punished there by Hartnell, and the puck careened to center. Tumbling down is Timonen. Braden Coburn hands it back to him. 1:45 has been played here in the second. Here's another great chance. Turning is Leno. Backhanded wide. And a penalty is coming up as Hjalmarsson was worked over.
So the right call was made.
A lot of anger down near you, Pierre. Trust it's not yours.
I'm just staying out of it.
Is it really loud down there and chattering between benches or not?
No, quiet between the benches.
Okay, sharp a drive. That one popped up in the air off of Leighton, and then he grabbed it coming down. Here's Byfuglien handing it back now to Keith. Heels it back along. Jonathan Toews has that one. Turning away from Timonen. Got a little room and gave it on back to Keith again. Keith back to Toews once more. Some sparring at the front. Keith side of the net play. Out in front, Byfuglien couldn't control and get a shot away. Then he caught a stick up high. Keith with one that rattled off of Blair Betts. And is lifted back along but kept alive by Sharp again. Worked back into Kane. Kane fed one in front. Toews tries to get a shot away. Down to the ice he goes. It's taken by Timonen and cleared. 45 killed by the Flyers. They've made a change. Braden Coburn and Carl are out there defensively. Giroux is one of the Flyers up front along with Mike Richards. Fed onto the back, given across by Keith. Kane with it there, and a shot is blocked off of Troy Brouwer. Brouwer grabs that one, turned into traffic. Toews was there, though. And then that one skittered back down, and so Niemi has to come along with Mike Richards hawking him. Chris Versteeg right out in front of his own net, swirls behind. 3/4 of a minute to go. Lost by Keith. Burrowing in is Giroux. Drop back over again. Flyers will just settle it down at center now and kill more time. Carl sent it down. Niemi paddles it for Brian Campbell. 3.5 plays the second. 22 left on the power play. Campbell working his way in. It bounced all around. Blair Betts lost it. Forced onto the back, and Campbell grabs it there. Must hurry it along, and it careened on goal where it was ladled wide by Andrew Ladd. Lifted along by LaPerriere.
Nice effort there by LaPerriere. Tough play on your backhand. Almost skating away from where you're trying to put that puck. Outstanding job there by the veteran forward.
Penalty kill is over for the Flyers. A feed to Andrew Ladd. Getting a piece of it, Leighton. Two wonderful opportunities. One aside so far in this second period, and the goalies have made both stops. Coming by with it is Hartnell. Pressed a bit, and so it's Campbell shoved off by Hartnell. Got tangled up there. Hartnell fed one in front. Swatted on and missed by Krychek. And followed up now. Krychek hurriedly gets back on defense. And that thrown wide by Bolin. Out of his net to get it is Leighton. Another shift change now by the Blackhawks. Full strength action. Over 4.5 played in the second. Game 6. The Blackhawks with the lead in the series 3-2. No word on the arrival of the Stanley Cup yet. It's usually fashionably late. Carried right back around now by Byfuglien. Byfuglien holding through traffic, shoved it across stiffly off of Kane. And then Kane bumped one on that Byfuglien swatted to the corner. Taves in after that. Taves and Kane and Byfuglien are back together for the Blackhawks right now. Handed back along, and it's taken by Taves, but then lost to Carter. Chalmerson is back out there again. And then it's along to Kane. Patrick Kane with a little acceleration. Kane to the outside with it. A shot and a pad stop is made by Leighton.
No Pronger on the ice. Kane really works on Krychek to get that chance.
Here is Carter throwing it across. Richards with it there. Dropped it back. Teeman and a shot. And it rattled off the boards and it's sparred 4 behind. 5.5 gone, second period. A 1-1 tie. Away from the reach of Gagne, who had the best Flyer chance of the period. This is spirited on back further by Ernashe. Through him, though. Can be retrieved and started back in again on a lob by Coburn. Long to get this is Campbell. Run off by Giroux. Help came from Versteeg, but it's laid away from him. Right back around behind, away from Van Riemsdyk, and it's played by Oskars Bartulis. Giroux left it behind. It was taken, but gotten again. And Van Riemsdyk with a centering pass that careened all the way out.
Boy, if Van Riemsdyk takes a look in the high slot, Aaron Asham is wide open in the high slot area, about 15 feet out in front of Anthony Hemming.
Van Riemsdyk collides there with Campbell. And it's picked up and started back out again by John Madden. A 3-on-2 right now. Madden fed it on a cross, and a shot by Boynton was deflected wide by Bartulis. Flyers shift from defense to offense. Claude Giroux, ever dangerous, gets as far as center, and then gave it up for Keith, and a pass is directed back down.
Nice job there by Andrew Ladd on Giroux.
Here's Kane with a man to the back. It's Keith with the shot, and a sliding block made there. Played on back further by Patrick Sharp. Right out in front, tried to bank one in. Still they battled. It's hooked on now in traffic. Coburn couldn't come up with it, but it started back along by Leno. Billy Leno rammed as he shoved that one back in. Seabrook reversed. Leno couldn't get it there. Out of play it went. They rule a deflection.
Well, there's Patrick Kane with the arrow, and Dustin Byfuglien's the guy that's circled. It's a 2-on-2, but you want to try to turn this 1-2-on-2 into 1-2-on-1. Byfuglien going hard to the net. Pierre talked about the slow coverage by Krychek. Outstanding execution there by the Blackhawks on that 2-on-2. The chance for Patrick Kane.
Really good jump for Chicago here tonight. Really good jump.
Another face-off win by the Blackhawks, but an offside as they were headed in. The puck has to be the first thing across that last blue line nearest the net at which you hope to score.
And Edzo, I think you would agree, they're really feeding off their Game 5 win. Chicago was outstanding in Game 5 in a lot of facets of the game, including the line changes. And you can see their confidence is surging here in game number 6.
And taking a step further was the third period of Game 4 when Joe Quenneville decided to change the lines up, went down by 3 goals, 4-1 going into the third period. He got a 5-on-3 power play goal by Dave Bolin, and since that point, it really dictated the pace.
Shot knocked down. Rebound is corralled in some. Oh, and was Kopecky ever reefed by Mike Richards. Deflected up high, and it hops along to Taves. Taves wedged off by Pronger. Mike Richards has been a favorite here in Philadelphia, and not always because of goal scoring. You saw an example. Taken along in a backhander was steered wide by Hossa from the stick of Gagne. Byfuglien able to hand it on back, and it's Campbell with a pass on the money for Chalmerson. and he strides ahead with it. Rifled it back in, shift change by the Blackhawks. More guys pour over the boards. In a fire wagon change with 12:05 to go in the second. Shots are 21-8. Falling down is Keith across the Briere. He scores!
Right there off the feed from Leno. He stuck it in the back of the net. How about Michael Richards stepping up? Kabam! Well, Thomas Kopecky, that energized this building. People are wondering about Mike Richards and his leadership. He's the equivalent of Jonathan Toews. That's the kind of leader he is.
I seem to recall you're mentioning at the top of the show that this game for the Flyers was on Richards.
Either his stick or his shoulder.
I recall those words. A penalty is coming up. It's going to be against the Flyers.
Braden Cobur's going to get it for a slash, man. And when both officials, in this case, Kelly Sutherland and Stephen Walton, put their arms up at the same time, you know it's a penalty. We're going to call it cross-checking.
Right before that last face-off, after the goal by Briere, Joel Quenneville was in the ear of both officials wanting to know why there was no penalty on Hartnell for tripping up Duncan Keith and allowing that 2-on-0. They've had a 2-on-0 and they've had one breakaway in the second period by the Flyers. They've cashed in on the last one.
Carried ahead by Duncan Keith on the power play as the Blackhawks will try to tie it up here. They got the first one, tied for the Flyers, and then the tie broken. Here's Keith, a shot, rattles around, they poke away at it, trying to get it by, and Leighton is able to hold tight.
Well, the penalty right there, this cross-check by Braden Coburn on Andrew Ladd, and then Jonathan Toews has an opportunity. What a pass by Duncan Keith. Freezes Michael Leighton. He's down, and for Jonathan Toews, he was in a little bit too tight on Leighton, not able to get elevation. All he's got to do is just back up a little bit. Back skate probably about a foot and a half, and that allows that angle to open up and to just throw the hands up towards the crossbar. But what a play there by Keith to get the puck to Toews.
Pronger drilled it, Seabrook kept it. Hossa could not grab. Richards with a pass ahead. Ricochet off of Giroux, and it's an offside pass anyway. 40 seconds killed by the Flyers.
Good play there by Timonen to stop that initial opportunity after that face-off win by the Blackhawks.
Pronger and Bufflin are back engaged. It's a tough matchup for Philadelphia because Chicago had last change in Game 5, but now because Philly has it, now you're seeing more of Pronger against Toews and more of Pronger against Bufflin.
Brouwer could not step by, but Hossa can. Here's Hossa trying to work it around in front. Hooked off, there'll be a penalty coming up. Delayed call is on, and it's going to be a penalty on Chicago.
What?
I think it's on Hossa.
For holding Edzo?
I think it was, I'm not sure, but he made contact with Michael Leighton. I thought he was helped into the goaltender.
So did I.
Well, here is Giroux on the delayed call, stashed back in, and eventually settled down by Timonen, laid on a cross for the setup to Briere, and it went off a leg wide. Blackhawks hoping to touch here, haven't done it yet until now. Will not be well received at the white team's bench.
Chicago penalty, number 81. 2 minutes for goaltender interference.
That's not a penalty.
No, it's not a penalty.
You're trying to take the puck to the net. You're trying to hold off a defenseman. Taking the puck to the net, he's got one thing on his mind, to try to chip the puck. Where is he going to go to avoid the goaltender? And you know what? You look where Michael Leighton is. He makes contact with his arms. That's not goaltender interference.
Wow, that is a soft call. Joel Quenneville is not happy at all.
He's just got 4 time in this period.
He's got to reel it in though, Edzo. He can't panic right now. He's got to step up on the bench and lead.
Up in the air, it's battled for a side for the next 30 seconds, and then a power play for the Flyers. A save
couple of those type of rebounds. That was tough to control that rebound, but the right pad kicks him up out of the high slot area here tonight for the Flyers.
Here's Keith beating one on a cross. It's down on further. Scored! Patrick Sharp! A 4-on-4 goal ties the game.
What puck movement by the Blackhawks there. That's phenomenal skill and precision by the Chicago Blackhawks.
Well, we talked about the defense being active. Watch the pass by Duncan Keith. 4-on-4 hockey, man-on-man. D have the forwards, forwards have the D. Watch this little pass. Fake shot that freezes two Flyers all the way over, and then Bolin to Sharp right between the legs of Michael Leighton.
It's great distribution by Bolin, who didn't panic. He was on his back, and he put it right into the wheelhouse for Patrick Sharp. There's a right-hand shot coming down the right side, right through the 5-hole on Michael Leighton.
That puck can't go in.
Nope, but remember back to game 1, David Bolin in a breakaway situation, 5-hole. They know that's where Leighton's weak, the 5-hole.
Played back in by Giroux. Giroux and Sopel go to the corner. Penalty time is up to Coburn. It is a power play for the Flyers that will last another minute and 10 seconds or so. But now it's John Madden bringing ahead. Madden shorthanded with a shot that's deflected wide by Timonen and corralled by Hartnell. Scott Hartnell, very deliberate, picks his way through center and shunts it on back for the carry-on by Briere, eludes Taves. Briere works to the outside. And Briere wiped out, chopped along by Sopel, dropped back to him for a nice feed onto Taves. And here's Taves stepping away from the reach of Hartnell. Taves trying to get by. One of the linesmen nearby is fed in front of Versteeg, and he circles to the outside, gave it back. Keith a drive. That's answered by Leighton. Keith again. And that one steered wide by Taves. Kept here short-handed by Versteeg. On back to Seabrook, and a rocket went wide. Keith again, a shot. Kicked aside to the corner by Timonen. And the Flyers are hearing it from their fans as they're down to the last 18 of this power play.
What a job short-handed.
Laid back on, carried on by Richards. Big booming hit on him is trying to cancel him out with Seabrook, and Madden clears it back down again. 2 seconds and 1, and another shotless power play by the Flyers.
Philadelphia needs a push now if they want to get back in this momentum swinging towards Chicago.
Giroux trickled it back in. Along to get it is Leno. Chopped from his stick. Follow up though from Carter. Defended away by Sopel. Threaded a little pass that's given across to Keith. Then on to Sharp. Quickly on to Hossa. Hossa trying to step his way by. Has it. Sent one around in front that's blocked off. Follows through again and on back it comes to Sopel. Sopel rattled it wide. Moving over for this one now was Boynton. Kept alive though by Sharp, and a shot had to be held by Leighton. Offensive zone face-off for Chicago. Shots are 25-10, 8-3 Blackhawks here in the second. But it's a tie game, and Mike Richards brings it on and shunted one to the corner. Hjalmarsson back to read that, banged into by Aaron Asher. For Richards, but swept away by Brian Campbell. Helped on out to Hossa now. Marian Hossa tried to slip one ahead that's cut off by the defense of Carl. They try to start it back ahead and get it over to Richards for a shot that's blocked right back out again by Niemi and taken by Taves. In a shift change, here's Hossa trying to get by. He does, and then it's swept away and out of harm's way by Carl and drilled angrily around by Briere. Right back up the boards, it's punched on by Hartnell and grabbed by David Bolin. Hartnell puts the shoulder into him. Back up the boards, it's finessed on by Kopecky. Bufflin trying to steer his way by, controls. Bufflin trying to dance loose off the half boards. Rifled it on back to Seabrook. Drive, and that one blocked right back again by Hartnell. Scaled around behind David Bolin without a helmet, takes it there.
Courtesy of Scott Hartnell.
It is Bufflin behind, shoved there by Coburn. It's forced back up the boards, and also without a helmet now. Well, that's Bolin still as a shot by Sopel was blocked down, and then knifed across, and again control. Versteeg's shot blocked down by the defense, taken on by Leno, turning away from Bufflin, and is able to emerge with it now. A 2-2 tie, but the balance of play has been strongly Chicago. It's led back up the wing, and here's Ladd shooting, and that went off a leg wide. Ladd right there to get it again, and it's chased off. Here's Briere around behind, watched by Sharp, and Briere can start it further, 6 1/4 to go, and now it's forced around behind by Ladd, and slipped back off the short glass all the way to Sopel.
Briere's out of gas. He's got to try to get to the bench.
Off of Kane's stick, carried back ahead, and on with this is Giroux. Giroux a shot and a stick save, and a cover is made by Niemi. Ever since those Rangers won it in '94, they've insisted on it being cared for really well, Mr. Olczyk. What do you know about it? Anyway, up the boards now it's Carter. Carter threw one that was sniped away by Jonathan Toews. Took some lumber there. Jammed at, taken by Leno. Then Carter, a bad angle shot, ricocheted off of Niemi.
The rebound in the slot area. This one off the shoulder. Good stop by Niemi off the quick hands of Jeff Carter.
It is Carter with it. Bothered there by Toews, dropped it off, and Toews good anticipation to continue the duel off Carl. That slips back out to center, and so the Flyers have to drop back further. Laid back onto Giroux, able to step by Hossa, rifled it up the wing, crossover move, Leno is there, and a shot rattled wide. Poked along by Hossa, had quite a duel there with Pronger. Puck popped out to center, and it's Leno. Flyers starting a little bit of a surge here themselves as Carter breaks free. Carter around behind, can't get a good pass away. Still controlling, run off by Toews, played along to Gagne. Simon Gagne, turnaround shot is blocked carefully away by Niemi. And sent ahead to Patrick Kane. Kane steps to the outside, wanting to go by Timonen. Kane down on the play, and play continues. It is held by Richards, played into traffic behind. Kane knifed it away to the corner and went after it. Sent onto the back, kept alive by Bolland, and then knifed out to center. Chalmerson couldn't play, and it slipped away from him. Rushed away from Richards, taken on by Van Riemsdyk. Richards centered, and it picked up by Kane again. Wheels back up, might be an odd man rush if the Blackhawks get enough guys there. Cannot do it this time. Coburn a long pass. Here's Richards gaining the zone. Richards holding, through traffic, brushed away, and then helped Kane, but around behind it, careened to Van Riemsdyk. Tried to center, could not. Another try, popped on back, and neither defenseman saw it coming in time to react. Pronger bashes it back in again, and around it came off the back of the cage, and it's Campbell. 4 minutes to go second, 2-2. Ryan Campbell glides ahead, stashes it back in, and Leighton saw it chip away from him. Thrown along by Carl, bounced right back to him, tries the other way to Pronger. Pronger harassed there by Andrew Ladd, tumbling to the ice for Stieg, kept by Seabrook, and it hopped out of play.
Chicago's going to be able to move forward here in Game 6.
To the last 3:35. 25 shots to 13 Chicago. Wins are not awarded on that. It is up for grabs. Will the penalty lessons on both teams take? We'll see. Along with this now is Darryl Powell. Hasn't played a lot in this game. Roughed up a little bit by Sopel. Powell slipped one on back that had to be settled down but at center and foisted back further by Greichek, and then we get a stoppage of play, and this will come back into the Chicago defensive end. He won it. Handed across, but a weak pass. Byfuglien had it knocked away by Pronger, and so Byfuglien just reverses it safely back, and Keith goes across to Seabrook.
Does it look like from upstairs that Philadelphia's a little bit fatigued right now, and Chicago's fresher?
I think in spurts it's looked that way. When Billy Leno's been on the ice, everything has been magic. Everything has been faster for the Flyers. Right now, I don't think there's any doubt that Chicago has had the majority of the play, but as Doc mentioned a little bit earlier, 2-2 late in the second, everything on the line. I think if you start feeling like that, the way to kind of get your legs into it is just, you got to simplify the game. You can't try to force things, redline it in, make sure you're having good short shifts, and again, late in the period, long change, the farthest away from your defensive zone, you better make sure you're changing before you're tired.
We get a stoppage of play on an offside as Andrew Ladd had tangled across the way there with Simon Gagne, and so play stopped again. Talking about Ville Leino, and he has gotten a point in this game tonight. That's 20 points for him this year in the playoffs.
There's the collision, the reason that Chicago was offside. Well, we've seen Ville Leino's magic here in the second period. A couple of really, really patient moves with the puck. Not too much of a hurry, knowing where the pressure is coming from. And that line has just been sensational for Peter Laviolette, along with Danny Briere and Scotty Hartnell.
Ripped back in. Gagne finessed it back. Turned by Carl. Trouble there. Good work on him by Sharp, and it's coughed up to Kane. Patrick Kane just wheels to the outside, hands it on to Hjalmarsson with a drive. They score! Hjalmarsson let a blast go that has broken the tie.
Oh, Edzo Van Riemsdyk gets caught in no man's land. So does Mike Richards. That's why Hjalmarsson's wide open. But what creativity from Patrick Kane.
Well, the patience for Kane, but watch the coverage. Technically, there's Mike Richards' man. He comes all the way over, and now it leaves Niklas Hjalmarsson wide open. If Mike Richards just stays there, he's in the shooting lane of Niklas Hjalmarsson. But he runs away, and Hjalmarsson takes the open ice. Puck ends up in the back of the net.
Wonder if Andrew Ladd got this.
Sure did.
Yeah. So it is Ladd's goal on a deflection. Coming out of his goal is Leighton to hook it around, and waiting for it is Hossa. Off the stick of Kopecky, taken by Jonathan Toews. Lays it on back to Seabrook. Across to Keith and a drive. They tried to work the side of the net play. Did not work that time. Keith able to play it safely along. Toews rocked there a little bit by Krejcik. Coming by is Kopecky. And Kopecky staggers free. Circles there. Gave it on to Hossa. Hossa tried to play one in front. That one blocked. Got it back. Keith a shot. Rattled around side of the net. It went off of Leighton and hopped wide. The Blackhawks keep bringing it on. Here's Toews angling one in front. Keith tried to fight his way to the front of the net. Was tripped up. There'll be a penalty. The call is a cross-check.
Briere's going to get it. Philadelphia's out of gas right now. They just can't contain Chicago.
There's a cross-check by Briere on Duncan Keith jumping in. Again, active defense coming in for the Blackhawks.
If a shot is good enough, sometimes it does break some. As 12-year-old Nicholas Olczyk can attest, a broken window at the ranch. Play stopped with 1:11 to go, second period. And the power play will have carryover time unless the Blackhawks score. And boy, have they ever taken the play here lately. Hjalmarsson the lone assist on Andrew Ladd's goal.
Both these coaches have really shortened their benches with all the power plays. Your star players are going to be out there a lot. Both teams use their top offensive guys to kill penalties. 5-on-5, they've really shortened the bench, really going down to 9 and 10 forwards each.
Last of the play in the second period.
Seabrook has this one in the final minute. Bufflin gave it over to Kane. Kane swirls from one now, harassed there by Darryl Powell. Kane gave it across and got it back yet again from Sharp. Dropped it on back to Keith. He's got Seabrook and sets him up. Drive, and that rattled off a flyer stick. Finessed out in front by Bufflin. Chopped on and off Seabrook, and then Powell is able to clear. Niemi shoves on to Keith in the last 28 of the period. Duncan Keith has logged a lot of time, so has Chris Pronger. That was expected, and they have done it. Drilled back along, and right to Versteeg's got a man open, Kane, but couldn't get it to him. And so it is just settled down by Seabrook, taken on by Patrick Kane again in the last 10 of the period. Time for one more rush. Hands it across, and it's brought on by Hossa. Hossa's shot, and it's held by Leighton with 3.4 to go. Toews stick in early. They do it again. It's one on back, set up for Sharp, and the shot had to be blocked wide by Leighton before the horn. There is power play time going into the third of 32 seconds. How significant is this kill? Seems like it's enormous. Buried was Versteeg, or check that, Kopecky on the hit by Blair Betts. All the way down it comes for Niemi. Quarter of a minute to go on this Blackhawk power play. It is Toews feeding one. Off of Hossa. Back for Toews. Shouldered by Timonen. Taken by Hossa. Hossa just delaying now. Flipped it on for Kopecky. Kopecky, a turnaround shot is grabbed and held by Leighton.
One of the things, Chris Pronger's an equal opportunity hitter, but he also knows from time to time he's going to get planted. And Marian Hossa puts Chris Pronger right into the Philadelphia Flyer bench. Even though it hasn't been a great offensive series for Marian Hossa, he's been a tremendous player for the Chicago Blackhawks all playoff long, Edzo and Don.
I think the thing that I took for granted was, you know, the offense, but the two-way delay play has been splendid. Off it is stopped by Leighton. Sped around, but off Gagne. Kept by Seabrook and on goal. Leighton had to block that one aside, and here's Sharp with it. Full strength action. Andrew Ladd tried to control off the boards and could not for the shot he wanted. Turnaround shot by Sharp was blocked by Coburn. Dug out and put off the back of the cage by Kane. Patrick Kane tried to get one back, and it'll have to be chased down by Chalmerson. Anticipating his move here is Gagne, but he's able to flip one that went off a glove and can't be controlled further by David Bolland. Bolland gave it across. Buffalo, their shot went wide. Bolland hustled to that one. Boy, pretty spirited start by the Blackhawks here. Meanwhile, bringing it back on is Gagne. The Hawks all around him as this one is lifted back out of play. No penalty to result. 1:16 gone in the third.
Fatigue factor right now, Edzo. Can they dig deep and go to another level, Philadelphia, or are there just too many live legs in the Chicago bench?
They've been resilient all season long with all the injuries. Getting in on the last day of the regular season in a shootout against the Rangers. Being down 0-3 to the Boston Bruins, absolutely. You need something good to happen if you're the Flyers, but Chicago certainly got a surge and they can taste it. They know that next goal is going to decide the game, in my opinion.
This one is skipped on back. Brent Sopel takes it there. Leads it across. Point and send it further. Tip back in. No icing. Shift change Chicago. Shift change Philadelphia. Bartulis gave it across and gets it back again. Pulls away from one, but it went off Briere. And it's forced back out and a take by Kopecky. Back up the wing, and here's Hossa. Marian Hossa had it denied by Bartulis. Swept back to Hossa again. Hossa just reversed it around behind. Kopecky wants to get there for that one. Duncan Keith cross-bodied enough by Briere, and the puck careened back down. Another change in lines for Chicago. Wheeling back with it is Seabrook. 2.25 minutes played in the third. Hartnell slept it back across, and Leno able to escape with it now. Leno played it back in. Hartnell could not reach that. Up the boards to Carl. Couldn't stop it. Hossa finessed it across. Carried out by Bolland. Spiked away by Leno, but right back up the wing. Here's Bufflin. Drugged one on for Bolland. Bufflin breaking to the net. They can't get it to him just yet, but he's around to play it to Bolland again. Bolland reversed it behind. Versteeg takes it there. Flipped it through, but it's Carl punching it along. Bolland got it right back. Off of Carl again. And Carl lifted one that careened out to center and struck one of the Flyers at the bench area. Off this face-off tie-up, and is lobbed behind by Giroux. Sped along by Timonen. Couldn't be taken by Gagne. Thrown back, and Kane has it. Right back in on the pass from Ladd to Kane. Kane dips the shoulder. Back pass in front was tapped away. Follow-up from Campbell. Campbell punched it behind. Kane took it there. Patrick Kane dealt it along. Campbell tried to return. Knocked down. Campbell flipped one further. And we get a stoppage of play. This is called back on an offside.
Like if you're Philadelphia and you're seeing that setup that Pierre was talking about on that last replay, you got to get somebody to come back with some speed. You got to try to get some isolation if you're going to have 4 or 5 players in the middle of the ice standing still. What Chicago's trying to do is to funnel the Flyers into one area and then just swarm and then force a turnover and go back the other way. So you need speed through the neutral zone. The way you do that is to have somebody come back, help out the defense. If anything's going to happen for both these teams, again, it's going to start on the defensive position.
Another change by Chicago with that face-off win. It's punched to the corner, and Keith is back to get it there. Keith was charged into at least by the reach and the reflexes of Daniel Briere, if not the body. It's broken up now and started back ahead for Matt. A 3-on-2 and a shot is trapped and held carefully by Leighton.
Saw where the pressure was coming and also knew where his outlet was, and it was the veteran Matt, as you mentioned, Pierre, in that open ice. That was where the open ice was. Take a quick look before you get the puck, and then a nice soft little pass through the middle of the ice.
Sent along by Hossa. His name not on the cup yet. John Maddens is on there twice. It's Hossa in front. Oh, and Kopecky could not reach the trickler, and it's advanced on out in a little reflex action by Seabrook, and now Taves played it on back. Whirling as Keith gives across to Seabrook. 4 minutes played here in the third. Brought on by Taves. Taves with a shot, deflected high by Leighton. Couldn't be gotten by Bufflin, but can by Taves. More pressure on. It's laid onto the back now for Campbell. Sent it around the roulette wheel, and it kicked back over to Versteeg. Dealt behind, and it's Coburn. Run off by Bufflin. Dancing free and taking this further now is Versteeg. Played it back around behind Bufflin up with it there. Chipped it on to Bolin. Bolin looks for someone to get to the front. It's not happened yet. After that one is Versteeg taken on by Timonen, and eventually it comes back out to center. 45 seconds has gone off the clock from that rush back in by Campbell, but a little over anxious for the Blackhawks, and so offside.
Allows Chicago to knife through most teams in the middle of the ice.
Giroux there. It came around now to Gagne. Tried to beat one in front. It rattled off the Blackhawk defense and came dangerously close where Niemi had to get help. Brought back on now to Sharp. Has Kane breaking, but Kane in early. They rule, and so offside is called.
Joel Quenneville's got the quick trigger on all these line changes. He knows he's got a little bit more depth in Philadelphia, and he's changing real quick.
We haven't seen Ben Eager at all. I don't know if we've seen Troy Brouwer in this period or not, but he's pretty much going with 10 forwards right now.
He's got that swing guy, Hosedzo, that makes such a difference. He can play first line, fourth line, doesn't matter. He can play anywhere. He's so good defensively.
4 shots in the period, Chicago. None yet for the Flyers. 5 1/4 played. Heats up the boards. Bufflin the tip. Carried back out by Bolin. They march ahead. Brought on by Versteeg. Here's Versteeg with a shot. Blocked down. Versteeg with it again. And then it hopped away from Bolin and can be played by Hartnell. Hartnell with a pass that's tipped back out. Kept alive by Seabrook. Punched aside. And we get a stoppage of play as the shot had actually come from outside the zone. And we get an offside call.
Tremendous series between the Flyers and the Blackhawks.
A lot of American-born players, a lot of Olympians like Hossa, whose shot was stifled wide by Carl. Played back along by Kopetsky. Lobbed on further off the back of the cage. Taves able to knock that one free. Jonathan Taves had it jabbed away, and it's carried back out by Gagne. Wanded away, and the Flyers are in early, and so this is all on a delayed offside. No shots in the last 10 minutes of play for the Flyers. 31 shots to 13, but the deficit they have is only 1. Hjalmarsson saw that tangled up in his uniform. It's jabbed back along on the backhand. It went off the referee from Carter along near Taves, guided it across, and it's given up by Campbell, but played back up by Kane, and here's Kane marching on with it. Kane with a shot, and that block down in front, gathered in by Richards, and the Flyers captain is able to advance one ahead. 6.5 played. It's Coburn giving it across. Carter a shot. Oh, but Niemi rebound turned off behind. Along off of Coburn. Brushed loose and hooked away. The goal stick of Niemi is away, and he's been handed a defenseman stick. Now he regathers his goal stick. As back ahead with it is Giroux. Holds and fed one across, and circling around and then sweeping one in front was LaPerriere. Taken onto the back. Pronger a shot, and that deflected wide. LaPerriere around behind, canceled out. Loose puck, side of the net, covered by Niemi, and play is stopped.
That's what they have to do if they're going to get back into this game 6.
This is Braden Coburn jabbing one along off of Powell in front, rattled all around, and Niemi watches now to the outside and sent back. Oh, and Coburn could not stop the pass.
Good idea there by Darryl Powell. Low coverage by the Blackhawks. The open ice was out at the blue line by Braden Coburn a little bit too quick.
Carried ahead by Darryl Powell. Young man out of Princeton. Backhanded one across the net mouth, and it rattled off of Niemi and went wide. It is Carl playing it on. Powell after that one. Jabbed it on near Carl. Forced back out again by Sharp. Dropped back off the boards, and it bounced along to be played further by Gagne. Lost it to Campbell, who skipped it back out to center. Matt Carl again. Gave it across. Pronger's lead is ahead. Flip back up the wing by Briere. Hartnell takes it there. Stripped to the puck momentarily by Hjalmarsson. Kept alive by Pronger. Given over to Carl. Fed one deep slot, and a shot by Leno is knocked down. Carried back ahead, a little swat on Kopetsky, that time by Carl. Kopetsky able to rattle it back in, and around it came near Jonathan Taves. Taves able to come up with it. Has some men back to pass to. Decides to hold on and feeds it on to Kopetsky. And then Seabrook a shot that is shunted wide to the corner by Leno. And popped up over the glass. A deflection, no penalty.
Oh, real good opportunity by Billy Leno, and Nicholas Hjalmarsson again with a shot block. Good idea by Leno to come out and find that soft little coverage high in the slot area.
What a game for Nicholas Hjalmarsson. Fantastic. He's taking a beating, hung in there, never bails out. Shot block phenom.
got it all going on.
17 total shot blocks for him, counting those 3 in the series. So now Giroux scored the last goal of the regular season. That was in the shootout. Briere was accorded the winner in game number 82, April 11th. And it's all been so improbable ever since then. It is Carter with it. Carter to the outside, through one that rattled off of Niemi and hopped on back to center. Nearly 9 minutes played, and here's Byfuglien, and a diving play made across by Timonen. Carried back along by Giroux. Puts on the brakes now and watches the traffic. He's got Richards, gives it on back. Carl a shot. It's deflected up high and skipped to the corner. David Bolland threw it back along. Waiting for it is Carl. Carl got it on through. Here's Carter with a shot. Grabbed and held by Niemi. How did he ever see that? A lot of traffic.
This is about the second or third time in this third period we see the puck go out to the defense of the Philadelphia Flyers, and then a forward comes up and supports really high. And then Antti Niemi just waving at that puck and catching it with Mike Richards standing off to the side. But a high, hard shot there, easy for Niemi as long as he's able to see it to corral it, not give up a rebound.
2 shots for the Flyers in this period, 4 for the Blackhawks, 31-15 in the game, 10:40 to go. Off the face-off, it kicked on back again to Carl. Dropped it to a vacant point, and Leno must play safely at center. He gets it back again. 1 point away from the rookie all-time record. A shot by Briere, directed back out by Niemi. And rushed back by Hossa. Has Kopecky breaking. Here's Hossa lobbing one on goal that's blocked off. Played back along the boards to be controlled further by Ville Leino. Carl shoved it back ahead. Hartnell got it there. Flopped it back to the corner. An obedient change in lines made by the defense and part of the forwards for the orange-shirted Flyers. As it is Sharp jabbing one ahead. Rushing back the wing, it's Ladd. Ladd a shot, stick save, Leighton. Swept around behind. Patrick Kane with it there, lobbed it on back, hoping for Ladd. Former Carolina Hurricanes Stanley Cup champion Ladd swept one in front that careened on back, knifed further by Ladd, and followed up now by Briere, given back up to Gagne. Gagne finessed one, backhander skipped off of Niemi, wide by Briere. Sent back out by Patrick Sharp, past the halfway point of the third. It is Gagne, filtering one that careened across to Campbell. Again, the Flyers try to recoil in their own end. Darryl Powell wanted to get by Byfuglien, no luck. Skipped on back, and Carl waits for his team to get onside, then makes the Blackhawks chase him. Clock winking down to the last 9 minutes regulation. The deficit for the Flyers is 1. Turnaround shot by Powell is just over the glove hand of Niemi. Krajicek tried to jam it further. In a lot of traffic, Chalmerson sped it back to Byfuglien, tried to protect and get some help. This time he steamed one across that Campbell has and starts back ahead. Up the wing is brought on by Versteeg. Versteeg with a shot, waffle boarded away by the blocker of Leighton. Krajicek sent it around behind, taken by Coburn. 8:37 to go. Richards' pass is blocked on back by Hossa, handed to Sopel, turned back on to Madden again. Madden lost it, but help came from Boynton, and it's sent all the way down. No icing here. Leighton up with that, scaled it off the glass, waiting at Trent Sopel. Sopel just played it carefully back in. Protected by Hossa, roughed up a little bit there by Coburn. Hossa able to hand it to the back. Boynton, a shot knocked down in front, and everybody had his man tied up, so no rebound could come. Laid back ahead with a little over 8 minutes to go. Working to the outside, Giroux. Around behind, it's Carter. After it was Sopel. The two of them collide, and then it's Giroux helping one to the corner. Carl after that, but patrolling was Boynton, and he's able to shove it back out and then come to the bench for a change. Pronger's pass on the money. Delayed and then lofted on the backhand around behind by Giroux. Briere in quite a stick duel with Keith. Emerging and leaving is Sharp. Up the boards, it comes on to Pronger. Pronger, a shot that went off a Chicago stick and hopped behind. Seabrook with it there. Pass geared back out off of Patrick Kane and held by Seabrook as the clock is under 7.5 to go. Deficit is 1 for the Flyers. A pass misfires, no icing. Matt Carl with that one. He's got Briere ahead on his right. Looks ahead for Leno, gets it to Hartnell, then across to Leno. Leno cruising around behind with it now. Fed one that careened back out to center ice and must be patrolled there, and then it's lost. Hossa trying to get in, and is wedged off and up by Timonen. Right back up with it now comes Leno again. Crosses away from one. Here's Leno drifting to the outside. Defended away by Seabrook. Swatted it behind, and Seabrook got it there. Under 7 minutes to go. Puck back to center, and Timonen hands it across. Blasted right back in again by Coburn, and around it goes near Seabrook, but we get a stoppage of play on all of this. He has been dominant on faceoffs. No one in this series has been even close. He's played a lot of time. Does he get the Stanley Cup as a reward tonight? It's presented to the captain first. Timonen goes back on this one. Little over 6.5 to go. The last goal scored was by Andrew Ladd with 2:17 left in the second. That broke a 2-2 tie. The careful block by Leighton. Rushing was for Stieg, but it's taken by the Flyers, and Mike Richards sent one ahead that can be corralled there by Giroux, taken out of the play enough by Hjalmarsson that help could arrive, and now it is Richards with it. Knocked off his stick. Up the boards, he shoves one. Carter quickly around in front. Oh, and it was hooked off the stick of Giroux as he was ready to plant one on goal in a good defensive play by David Boldy. Shoved right back up the wing and handed across to Richards again. Richards into the catching glove of Niemi.
Well, good transition coming out of the defensive zone. The Flyers move the puck up. Claude Giroux getting hooked by Dave Bolland and Nicholas Hjalmarsson in front of the net. As Mike Richards finds Jeff Carter.
You can see them in the background standing. No scoreboard encouragement. Drive by Pronger, battled for in front, dug out by Seabrook, but it can't be cleared. Off of Carl, picked up there and started back out by Taves. Up the wing, it's carried on by Hossa. He's got a man up the wing. Hossa feeds. Taves with a backhand play. Knocked away by Leighton. Played back up the far boards, and eventually it can be worked back out again by Briere. Held up enough by Hossa. Then it's swept across by Leno. 5.5 to go. Carl laid it across. Leno got it there. A stick is broken. That of Hartnell. He's able to kick the puck back and comes to the bench for a change. Blackhawks with it again. Backhanded in one more time. Taves ridden to the glass after he'd done that by Braden Coburn. This is Leno with 5:10 to go. Handed back across to Gagne now. Sized up by Sopel. He sped it around behind. Coburn moves for it there. Gave it up, though, for the play by Sharp. Cleared it back down, and this one will go for an icing touch-up and a stoppage of play with 4:55 left to go. What's it like down there, Pierre?
Good composure on the Chicago bench. Joel Quenneville's really settled things down, and on the Philly bench, it's a little bit more out of control, but you can see these guys really have their focus right now. The Chicago Blackhawks head zone.
A beautiful pass there by Jonathan Taves off in behind. Hossa skates into it. Little give and go. Taves with the chance. Tried to make the pass over to John Madden, who stopped to the right of Michael Leighton.
Didn't do a flyby. We understand those things are right. He stopped. That one didn't work out for Chicago, but here is Ladd trying to chop one further. Came out front to shot. Oh, and a great save made by Niemi on Richards. Goes in on the draw with Carter. That's wet on back and played behind where Duncan Keith plays for Chicago. Harassed there. Puck kicked loose and bounced around behind. It's Giroux as falling is Keith. Giroux sped it behind, and Keith right back up to play that one. Wanting to work it the other way. Kept alive by Carl. Spun in front. Trouble came there. And a shot blocked off, and it kicked off of Keith. And is covered by Niemi.
They're taking the walls away, Edzo.
Off the draw, Blackhawks control. Seabrook played it along again. Kick back out again to center. Pronger with it there. 4.25 left to go. Off of Taves. Controlled and worked on back deeper by Leno. Leno gets by one. Slips across and gains the zone. Leno up with it there. Fed one in front and bounced in on Hossa.
Chicago has people back, you have to isolate, and it's Billy Leno. Scott Hartnell's going to come into your picture. He throws it to the front of the net.
Enzo, Chicago was in full retreat mode and they didn't play hard enough on Billy Leno. You're bang on. If you're going to go backwards, you better eliminate the puck carrier. They weren't able to do it, and it's tied the game.
Boy, and maybe look on that. That's a great look. Maybe Scotty Hartnell gets a piece of it after it goes off the stick, the skate, and then the stick of Hartnell.
They are still standing here. Puck turned across, a tie game. 3 minutes and 45 seconds to go. Chalmerson fed it ahead, grabbed off there and handed over to David Bolin to drive. Fought off and then covered by Leighton.
So often when we talk about it, go to the net and great things happen. And there, Scotty Hartnell, stick down, paying a price. Taves with the finish check, but Leno through the middle of the ice. Freeze our wild here in Game 6.
Appreciate the clarification there. Not off Hossa, but Hartnell has collected yet another key playoff goal. One onto the back now for Campbell. Shifted back further and it was tangled in skates and thrown, but then blocked off and eventually it's laid back along again, chopped away from Campbell. Coming across is Chalmerson and then sent on further. Marching back is Key. It's back down and fanning on a shot was Ladd. Charging back on is Giroux. Giroux fed it across. Carter is shot and he got the blast.
Oh, what a shot block by Nicholas Chalmerson. It goes off his skate into the net. It's a 3-on-2 opportunity after Andrew Ladd fans on the pass. Great pass by Giroux over. And there are the skates of Chalmerson coming across. And Enzo, you think this isn't a big body game? Darryl Powell, Dustin Buckland's been. Darryl Powell was in a world of hurt leaving the ice surface.
How many collisions have there been? How many missed chances? We can tell you the number of goals, but the number of almost. Hartnell with the one that has kept the crowd on its feet ever since it was scored. Madden able to bring it ahead. Madden sent one behind Bolin. Swatted on further, and it has to be retreatingly played by Seabrook. Closes off his man, Briere. Sent along further for the play that comes out to center now and is chopped on by Timonen. And a lot of traffic off Byfuglien. Coming by now is Bolin. Bolin gains the zone. Byfuglien goes down. Meanwhile, it's ragged through traffic neatly and then handed across to Seabrook. Lobs one that is covered by Leighton, and play is stopped again.
A simple little play by the Flyers, getting the puck in behind the Blackhawk defense. Right when Danny Briere is making contact with that puck, Brent Seabrook eliminates some good defensive play there by Seabrook.
And that's a great non-call. The fans here wanted interference. That wasn't interference. That was solid defense by Brent Seabrook. Really well done by Seabrook.
2:35 left. Pronger and Powell, who was crunched earlier. Too far for Gagne. Campbell goes in and one-handed it onto Hossa. Carried back ahead. Checked off was Taves, shoved it on, and Taves tries to get by. Bumped off on the play by Powell. Very responsible defensively is Darryl Powell. Back ahead now, it's carried on by Gagne. Gagne fired one that ricocheted back in deep. Chalmerson to get it there. Lifted it along further, and it careened all the way back down, and this one will be an icing. Short one followed by a shootout that we have in the regular season if they remain tied after 60. Another icing against Chicago.
It's on Doc. Fair to say we're in overtime right now.
Pretty darn close.
Any goal scored would be so late that it would be almost impossible to strike back, but both of these teams have encountered so much and gotten to this point. Here's a shot by Coburn, went wide. Rebound chip off the paddle of the stick of Niemi. Another try, and he blocked that one carefully with a pad again. Richards tries to center Connaught. Chalmerson fighting with Richards there, and Richards got it. Fed one over for a pass in front. Carter fought off by Niemi. My goodness! All the way back down it goes, and Coburn is after it. And icing is called, and Bufflin protests that he got there first.
Bill is upset. What a stop by Antti Niemi. Beautiful passing play. Richards to Giroux and Jeff Carter. Right part of your screen. There's 17 in orange. Oh. And then the hustle on the icing call. Braden Coburn, Dustin Bufflin. Looked like Coburn had inside position on Bufflin.
30 seconds.
Chicago's going to call timeout. That was a real long sequence for Bufflin Versteeg.
From the tie-up. Spike behind, Campbell can't reach it. Pinching along is Carl. Sped it behind, and Leno is right there after it. Leno jabbed it further, finesse free by Briere. Tipped away by Chalmerson. Deflected along, and it can be lifted along by Versteeg. It popped back to center, and is helped across by Bolden. Danny Briere sent it back in. On the bounce, it's squibbed, almost dead for Campbell. Campbell tries to help it along, got some help. Patrick Sharp outlets. Rushing on is Andrew Ladd. Ladd turning now. Finessed away from Timonen. Jammed one around that Sharp is able to center off the back of the cage. Held there by Leighton, and quite a tie-up as Sharp went after it. Fed around behind. Seabrook with it there. Lobbed it ahead to Hossa. Hossa couldn't control it. Gets it back and shot one that's held by Leighton. At the defense, and it's corralled by the Flyers and given off of Keith's stick to center. Twisted on back, and it's Sharp. Able to delay and step by Richards. Sharp waits and then fed one. Kane with a shot over the glove hand of Leighton. 12 to go. Back out to center. It's Keith yet again. Keith tried to speed one up the middle. Carter shut that one down. Couldn't get it, though. Lobbed back out again by Hossa, and we are going to go to overtime.
What's interesting about both these teams is they both love the stretch pass, so it's really important that, as Ezo said, you make the right change, but you can't turn the puck over either. Stretch pass will be very prevalent here in the first overtime period.
And it's never a bad play to get the puck to the net. I'm sure the coaches have told their players in the dressing room and on the bench, get the puck to the net. Don't pass any opportunities to get the puck towards the net.
Taves wins from Carter. Keith connects with Seabrook. Kopetsky and Hossa are out there with Jonathan Taves. Giroux starts this overtime period, and that came off of Mike Richards, helped away by Niemi. Richards with one in front, settled off a couple of sticks, and is pushed on goal for a save off of Giroux by Niemi. The ice is supposed to be perfect as you start a period.
The giveaway by Duncan Keith. The play by Mike Richards to just throw the puck to the front of the net. Giroux with the shot, and off the shin pad of Duncan Keith, and Antti Niemi again.
The ice was good. The elevator pass was better. Off the tie-up. Turnaround shot ricocheted from the stick of Gagne off the defense and wide. It is Keith finessing it through. Madden laid it ahead. It went off Bolden's stick. Bolden able to take it right away from Timonen. Lobbed one across. Bolden saw Versteeg trying to make a play but could not. Meanwhile, it comes as far as center. Bolden able to wheel back with Versteeg and Madden. Played back in. Madden comes to the bench for a change. Wheeling back Versteeg and Bolden as well. Long toss ahead, directed back in by Van Riemsdyk. He is out on a fresh change of Flyers here, as it's Campbell just pulling and handing across to Chalmerson. Away from Ladd, stoked on back. Chalmerson punched it on, racing back in is Kane. Tried to flex it by, could not. Up for grabs and played around to center, and then flicked on out to center, where eventually the Blackhawks can settle it down.
Some early overtime nerves on its own, Doc.
Both teams.
Yep.
Carl jabbed it along. Pinching is Kane. Leno tried to flip it out, followed up by Pronger. Coolly on out to Briere. Briere led it back. Here's Hartnell with the hot hand to Briere, and off his stick, and it flew just wide. Played along by Pronger. Hartnell to move for it there. Spun one around behind. Leno with it. He's got Briere in front. The Blackhawks flood the area behind. Bufflin scaled it along. Waiting for it there is Tiemann in a blast. Shrugged away by Niemi. Loose puck came in front. He did not see it. It shoved back up the wing and carried on by Patrick Sharp. Here's Sharp moving across. Fed it over for a shot. Pad stop made by Leighton. Kept alive by Bufflin, and that one pinballed on back. Dropping back is Keith on defense. A little feed on a diving play by Seabrook to deny Hartnell. Helter-skelter here at the start. Here's Hartnell beating one on back. Taken there by Carl. Shoved around the boards, and it careened again for Hartnell. Hartnell led it across. Carl couldn't stop it. Must retreat to center. Swept back off Boland's stick. And Hartnell wants to get some body position there just to slow things down so they can get a change made. 2.5 gone. First overtime. Led back across. Here's a feed that went off of Carter. Carter tried to shake one side of the net. It came free, but after the whistle had blown. Taves won it from Carter. Wound around by Sopel. Chopped further by Madden. Taves tried to play it ahead. Nudged it on and into the zone where Hossa has it. Then Taves, then Hossa, taken out of the play by Pronger. Help came from Giroux, stopping it as Sopel. Dropped it behind to Hossa. Hossa again turning to the outside, flicked it further. Taves tried to get there, could not. This instead is Carl. Laid one along that's away from Hossa, regathered by Chalmerson.
Nice play there by Carter, lifting up the stick of Taves.
Jonathan Taves defended again by Carter. Coming by is Kopetsky to take his man out. It's rolled past Sopel, but plenty of help from Hossa. Chalmerson again with it for the Blackhawks. Into the glove of Sharp, who's able to carry back and spirit it along to the corner. Taken there by Powell. Another change for Chicago. Played around for Tiemann. Helped on out to Gagne. Chipped on back as far as Nick Boynton. Circle to circle across to Campbell again. Lays it on free to Kane. Patrick Kane moves to the outside, spins. He's got Campbell in front, and he tried to jab it there, but it went wide. And around it's flicked by Ladd, and then went off of Coburn. On back to be taken by Campbell. Here's Campbell handing on to Kane again. Lots of head fakes there, trying to shake Tiemann. Threw one in front. Oh my, it rattled around, and it kicked on back, and it scored! We saw no light, we saw no signal, and we're not sure if they've set a signal of a goal yet, but they are celebrating at the other end of the ice. What chaos! We have not seen a signal of goal from the referee yet.
Patrick Kane with the shot. Oh, that puck is in. It's stuck in the... It ends up in the far back side.
Play is under review.
Word has gotten to the Blackhawks what you have just seen. One of the more unusual finishes, but it's a goal. The Stanley Cup to the Chicago Blackhawks. Patrick Kane let the shot go. A delay in the signal, and eventually, after they checked and the play was under review, it goes to the Chicago Blackhawks, and the Stanley Cup does as well.
His 10th in the playoffs, assist. Number 51, Brian
Kane
Campbell.
is there. He feels it's in. He's in the process of celebrating.
Overtime.
No light, no signal just yet, but it is in fact over that line. And the Stanley Cup has been won by Chicago. As you see how this all happened. Well, why not? Why not a chaotic finish to all of this? A sad time for the Philadelphia Flyers as they wait for the traditional handshake. A joyous time for the Blackhawks for the first time in 49 years. The Stanley Cup will come to Chicago.
Well, you hear it all the time. Just get the puck to the net. And Patrick Kane beats Michael Leighton between the legs. And Patrick Kane was the only person in this building that knew that puck crossed the goal line and ended up getting stuck in behind Michael Leighton.
You always wonder how a fan population will react to the shock of that last play. And they are chanting for their Flyers as they wait to go through the process of the handshakes, which are just about to begin. It does find its way through. It was really hard to see at the top. And this is the noble tradition. Dustin Byfuglien about to go through the handshake line with his arch rival throughout this playoff. You see the captains, Jonathan Toews and Mike Richards, who were part of the Canadian Olympic team that won the gold. Battles that occurred over 6 different nights in the 2 different cities. Byfuglien and Pronger right here. And out of all of this, Marian Hossa has made it. 3rd time to the final, and the first time his name will be engraved on the Stanley Cup. This will all probably happen later on in the summertime. Louise St. Jacques at a jewelry store in Montreal will work at inscribing the names letter by letter. Craig Berube and the coaching staff, and there you see Peter Laviolette congratulating Patrick Kane. Right now, Jonathan Toews is with Pierre.
You've done so many things in your career. World Junior, Olympic gold, and now this. What do you have to say?
Oh my God, you know, it's like that commercial. I'm speechless. You know, this team put on one heck of a run. We knew from day one of this season we had the potential to do it, and to realize our goal is just an amazing feeling right now.
They come back, they tie in the 3rd period, obviously have to go to overtime. Had you ever seen a celebration after a goal that Patrick Kane just scored to end a series?
Oh my God, yeah, you don't predict something like that, but I was just hoping to God that it was an actual goal and we weren't celebrating for nothing. That would take a lot of heart out of you, but you know, they came back hard in the 3rd and we stuck with it, so incredible feeling right now.
What did you gentlemen say in the dressing room before you came out for overtime?
Well, we just said someone's got to get that feeling, and someone's going to be the hero, and having to be Kaner, he's been awesome all series, and didn't matter who got the goal. We knew we had a feeling as a team we could pull it off.
They haven't won a Stanley Cup in Chicago for 49 years, since 1961. Can you imagine what the parade's going to be like now? I know you haven't wanted to think about it.
Oh, there's so many great things about winning a Stanley Cup. This is it. This is the best feeling you can ever get, you know, playing hockey, and I just can't believe it's happened.
Bus rides at the University of North Dakota, all kinds of fun when you were a kid growing up in Winnipeg. Shot at St. Mary's in Minnesota. Did you ever think?
Oh, no idea. No idea. This is amazing. You know, with this group of guys, it makes it even more special. And in a city like Chicago, you know, we would like to do it in front of our own fans, but we'll take it any way we can.
Congratulations, Jonathan. Way to go.
Let's listen.
There is no doubting the passion of Philadelphia fans. So let's give the Flyers a big hand for a great season. The winner of the Conn Smythe Trophy, Jonathan Toews.
Jonathan Toews is the playoff MVP, 22 years of age.
These players brought the Roar back to Chicago, and now they're bringing back the Stanley Cup after 49 years. Congratulations, Jonathan Toews. Come hoist the Stanley Cup.
Captain gets it first, and then always interesting is who winds up with it next.
Hossa.
And Marian Hossa, for the first time, has the cup above his head.
No greater feeling. You train all summer. You work all season. You think you know what it takes, but until you actually attain it, you have absolutely no idea. no better feeling. Former Flyer, started his career here, Patrick Sharp.
Now they start with the age, don't they? They go to the older guys like Brent Sopel. Sopel, 33 years of age. John Madden, for the third time, raises the Stanley Cup at age 37.
All right, Duncan Keith. For a couple days, Doc, he was known as Duncan Teeth.
17th sacrificed.
Eddie Olczyk and Mike Emmerich up top just called you Duncan Teeth. You gave your teeth to win the Stanley Cup.
Well, I don't know. I obviously missing a lot of teeth, but I just think everybody on our team sacrificed, and you know, really a huge team effort, especially tonight, to make the win.
This is such a tough building to play in. When it was 2-2, how'd you guys start to get the momentum going?
I just thought we were skating the whole time, and I thought even from the start of the first, we were playing good. They had a power play, and then they got kind of a good bounce there on their second goal. I fell, and you know, I thought we were skating the whole time, and you know, give them credit. They came hard in the third and tied it up.
You're a kid from British Columbia. There are a lot of mountains there. You're on top of the mountain right now. What's the view like?
It feels pretty good. I don't even know how to explain it. No, it gives me chills thinking about it, seeing our fans up there.
And the guy who scored the winning goal that was not seen right away, Patrick Kane, is with Pierre.
Are you the only person in this building that thought that puck went in?
I knew it went in right away. I was stuck behind the mesh in the net there. Got a shout out to my people back in Buffalo, my hometown. I got 4 buddies down. They drove all the way to come watch me play. My 5 family members, 3 sisters, 3 beautiful sisters, my mom and dad. What a feeling. I can't believe it. It's unbelievable. We just won the Stanley Cup.
The rebirth of the Chicago Blackhawks started with you and Jonathan Toews. Did you think you'd get to the top of the mountain this quickly?
I can't believe this just happened. Holy crap. I mean, it's something you dream of as a kid, to score the winning goal in the Stanley Cup Finals. And it was just, it was unbelievable.
Be on your best behavior at the parade, Patrick.
Not a chance, not a chance.
Have fun. Doc, that's youthful enthusiasm.
I guess so. The episodes in life that last so many years in memory are often measured in fleeting moments as they happen. Steve Summers wrote that in 1988. To celebrate an American League championship, these moments have passed real fast. They're going to remember them forever. No practice tomorrow, and 2 other words, actually 3. The beards are off. We have a picture that is going to be taken that will burn forever in the memories of these guys. They'll have something tangible. They played and sacrificed like this for a ring that will be so gaudy they won't wear it every day, and for their name to be on a trophy that they cannot keep, but they can keep this memory.
That's why you play.